The contour editor is designed around allowing you to edit the vector points of an artwork. This includes their position, scale, rotation, along with their Bezier curves. So let's get started. First of all, let's start with technical detail, or in other words, what is this vector thing? You hear about it always, but what does it mean? In short, on a vector layer, artwork is made up of points or vertices, as seen here. This is why when we scale or zoom into artwork, we don't lose any quality, because it's made up of points that then do some fancy mathematical stuff to calculate what's shown on screen. Points also have Bezier handles. So here's a point, you see it has Bezier handles. This tells Harmony how to curve that line. We also have contours, which is basically just the fancy name for the lines that connect between the points. So what does that mean for the contour editor? The contour editor allows you to edit the contours, which, as said a moment ago, are controlled by the points and the Bezier handles. Brush stroke fills have points to represent the entire fill, so you can see there's points on all sides here. Pencil strokes, on the other hand, only has points to represent the center line. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about how the contour editor works. We'll start with moving points around. Hold down your mouse button here and select the contour editor. This tool can only be selected if the current art layer is vector. If we hover our mouse over the edge or the corner of our artwork, the mouse cursor changes, and if we click, it will show the object's vertices. Alternatively, if we just use our mouse to drag a selection, if the selection doesn't go over any vector points, it will show the object's vertices. Finally, we can use our mouse to drag a selection over some vector points. This will show the vertices and select those points within that area. If you want to deselect our selection while still showing the vertices, click anywhere on the orange line. We can also hold shift and click on multiple vertices at once to select multiple points at once. To move points around, it is as simple as putting your mouse over one of the points and clicking and dragging. We can also affect the curves of a contour. Make sure to show the points first, and then we can hold Alt and drag out from a point to create Bezier handles. You can see these Bezier handles appear on both sides, and moving one moves the other. You might feel bad to break them apart, but sometimes we need to. So hold Alt and then you can drag a Bezier curve, and this will break the link between them, and you can then control them individually. If you want them to link back together, move one of the Bezier handles and bring them to be next to each other, and it will return back to being linked. To create new points, we can hold Control or Command and then click on the orange line to create new points. If you accidentally went overboard and created too many points, just nudge the shape by dragging in the middle of a line, put it back to where it was, and Harmony will optimize the shape. Remember the keyboard shortcuts. Add control points via Control, and you alter the Bezier handles via Alt. Doesn't really work on macOS where it's Command, but you get the idea. As mentioned briefly earlier, you can drag in the middle of a line where our mouse cursor looks like this. This will change the contour line shape by changing where the Bezier handles are. So if I click on this, the Bezier handles look like that. Do that, they look different. Note that depending on where you drag from, it might bring other points with it. So I'm quite close to that corner and it's bringing other points with it. It also matters where you drag the line to. If I drag this line over here, you can see it snaps in place and a little blue circle appears. This means that it's going to link those Bezier handles. Now onto the tool properties window. By default, by clicking and dragging via your mouse cursor, you will draw a lasso shape. If you want to change it to a marquee, use this button here and select marquee. Alternatively, you can hold Alt to temporarily swap that. So you see I'm on the lasso, if I hold Alt, it then does marquee, and it would be vice versa. If I was on the marquee, it would do the lasso by holding Alt. The snapping options are similar to the select tool, but have a few minor changes. Note that for all of these snapping options, these only apply to the point currently at the mouse cursor position. So if I enable snapping and snap to contour, we'll explain what that means in a minute. If I select these points and drag from this bottom point, you see it doesn't try and snap that top contour. It only snaps when the one that's at my mouse is nearby. Snap to contour. Snap to contour snaps the currently selected point at the mouse cursor to any nearby points as you drag your mouse cursor. Snap to alignment guides does what it says, snaps the currently selected point to the alignment guides. Click in the card in the top right hand corner to learn more about alignment guides. Snap and align imagines there's a bounding box around each shape like that, and we'll try and snap the currently selected contour to those bounding boxes and the center of those bounding boxes. Snap to grid will snap the currently selected point to the grid found in the camera or drawing view toolbars. So you see I'm currently on a square grid, select it and it'll snap to the square grid. If I swap this to the 16 by 12 field grid, you see it snaps to that grid instead. If you'd like to snap to contours found on other layers, You can enable the Allow Snapping on All Drawing Layers button. This option only applies in the camera view and allows you to snap your selection to objects on other layers. This is affected by the current display node, what is visible and what is unlocked. If you have multiple points selected and want to rotate or scale them at the same time, by clicking the Show Controls button, you can do so. This button will show a blue square, which allows you to scale the points by clicking and dragging on any of these outer blue squares. This allows me to scale. You can also rotate by moving your mouse cursor off of the corner until it turns to the rotate icon and rotate. This is also affected by the option within Harmony, Preferences, Camera, use rotation lever with transform tools. This will change the blue box to have a rotation lever. If you would like to change where the scale or rotation happens from, or in other words change the pivot point, hold down on this little blue circle in the middle of our blue box and move it. This is the pivot point, so if I move it down here, you see all changes now happen from that pivot point. Keep in mind that to move the points, you do not do anything with this blue square. You still drag on the points themselves. This button is only for rotation or scale. This is a pencil line. Tip style affects the resulting lines if you delete part of a line. You can select a single contour by clicking on that line. You see I've selected this middle contour. If this is set to round, the resulting lines have a round edge. If this is set to flat, the resulting lines have a flat edge. By default, the contour editor only works on the currently selected art layer. You see the color art is not being affected. With the apply to line art and color art buttons selected, this now allows me to edit both the line art and the color art at once. To learn more about art layers, click the card in the top right hand corner. Now we move on to the operations section. So the smooth button will smooth out the points. It will try and remove points to smooth them out. This is the same as going drawing, optimize, smooth. We also have the join and split buttons. These buttons specifically refer to a pencil line. So with some points selected, by clicking the split button with some vertices selected, it will split the lines. Now if I click on the vertice, you see they still have linked Bezier handles as if it's one object. However, if I go into select tool, you see they are different objects. As you can probably imagine then, the join button takes these split contours and joins them together. If you accidentally nudge the line and so it's no longer overlapping, the join button will not work. Simple fix in this case, you need to enable your snapping option and go snap to contour and then just snap the contours together so they're one again, and then the join button will work. So that was a video discussing the contour editor. Check the description for a written version of the video. Like, comment and subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you in the next one.